The Electoral Commission will soon start processes to conduct referendum in the northern, western, Bono-Ahafo and the Volta regions on the proposed creation of new regions. The referendum is to decide on the carving out of the northern region, Savannah and northeast regions, Oti from the Volta region, Ahafo and Bono East from the Bono-Ahafo region, and Western North from the Western region. The Presidential Commission on the creation of the new regions recommended that marginalization, extreme poverty, and low-level development witnessed during their tour makes a strong case for proponents. The only outstanding issue is how and where the referendum will take place. Chairman of the Presidential Commission, retired Supreme Court Judge Justice Stephen Brobe, says all interest groups were satisfied before arriving at the recommendations.
We are convinced that we have received all shades of opinion from as wide a cross-section of the Ghanaian populace as is possibly under these circumstances. Mr. President, the culmination of all these steps taken by the Commission is the report that we are here to submit to you today. Our report is entitled, quote, Equitable Distribution of National Resources for the Balanced Development, unquote. I repeat, Equitable Distribution of National Resources for Balanced Development, unquote. This title encapsulates the aspirations of the people of the areas from which the petitions emanated. As a matter of fact, this must be the desire of every citizen of Ghana who chooses not to be a spectator.
Now, accepting the report of the Commission, President Akufo-Addo said the decision to create the regions was as a result of several petitions received during his tour of the country before the 2016 elections. He says he's hopeful the successful creation of the regions will speed up development across the country.
It is clear that the process has been demand-driven and reflective of the will of the people, as the Constitution so intends. It has been a truly national exercise. The report submitted by the Commission indicates that there is indeed a need and substantial demand for the creation of new regions in the various areas that were the subject of its inquiry. The Commission has recommended the creation of the following new regions: Western North, Bono East, Ahafo, Savannah, Northeast, and Oti. The Commission has thus further recommended that the Electoral Commission hold referenda in these new proposed regions to determine whether the constitutional thresholds for the creation of new regions will be met by the vote of the people affected. It has also specified the issues that the referenda will resolve. Let me reiterate that at least 50% of the persons entitled to vote must vote in each of the different referenda, and of the votes cast, at least 80% must be cast in favor of the creation of a region for the demand to succeed. The Constitution insists that the process and outcome must be guided by the popular will. It is my earnest wish that the holding of the referendum will be conducted in an orderly and peaceful manner. Generally, throughout our history, administrative regions have been created to bring governance closer to the people and accelerate socio-economic development. Hopefully, the creation of these new regions will serve the same purposes.
We've now been joined on the line by Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development, Dan Botry. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us, sir. First,
thank you.
Can you confirm if the Commission inquiring into the creation of the new regions received petitions from Ghanaian-based Professor Kweku Asare and a group in the Volta region asking that the new region should not be created?
Thank you for having me. I would not know. We may have to speak to the maybe secretary to the commission, because they received several petitions from different people. So I wouldn't know whether they actually received the one from the people you mentioned.
Okay. Now, I want to believe that even though there's a commission, they work together with you since you are the minister for regional reorganization. So can you tell us what went into deciding to go ahead to recommend the creation of the new regions despite the petitions?
The commission worked independently.
Okay.
Ours was to facilitate and support them in the work that they do. We never sat in their meetings. They met people without us. So as to what led them to come to these conclusions, they will be the best people to answer.
Mr. Botry, are you aware of the contents of the report they submitted to President Akufo-Addo yesterday?
No, but for the recommendations that were made publicly yesterday, but the details of the report, I'm here to read the report.
And are you aware if there are any recommendations with regards to how to deal or settle those who have petitions against the creation of the regions?
Well, I'm not so sure that that is what they were supposed to do. The fact of the matter is that, I mean, that you have invoked the provisions of the Constitution as enshrined in Article 5. That one is a government decision, and that has been taken consistent with what have been said in the manifestos of the major political parties. And these are things, I mean, issues that have been discussed over the years. These demands have been made over decades. And as politicians, you go around, you draw your manifesto, you draw it based on the aspirations of the people. So you aggregate them, find out at a particular time which ones you think you can, it's time to consider. And it is not coincidence that for the first time in 2016 manifestos, in page 67 of NPP and page 72 of NDC, we all agreed that it was time to consider these aspirations of sections of the society. And so it found expressions them. And the petitions were received by Mr. President. The Constitution anticipated that there might be a time that three things could be asked, as is in Chapter 2, that talks about territories of Ghana, and specifically in Article 5. Three things could be asked for this by the citizens: alteration of existing boundaries of existing regions, creation of new regions, or merging of two or more regions. So the Constitution anticipated that if it ever came a time that these such demands are made and government decides to take them up, this is how you should go about it. And that's exactly what Mr. President has done. The Commission of Inquiry is supposed to be set up. They're supposed to go into the issues and try to answer whether there's a need and substantial demand for the creation of regions in this case. And by so doing, wide consultations, they had memoranda for all people in society, and they considered all, and they have come out with their recommendations.
Mr. Botry, do we know when and when the Electoral Commission will be organizing the referendum?
Well, we have been in touch with the Commission since last year. We drew their attention to what have been set up by the government, and therefore the need for them to have it in their 2018 budget, if the Commission so recommends, which they did. This year, we have been having meetings with the Commission. 3 weeks ago, led by the Deputy Chairman in charge of operations and the whole technical team were in our office to discuss the possible roadmap in case the Commission recommended for the referendum. So they have been preparing for this exercise. But, you know, they are independent body. They will determine the time based on their preparations. But I know for sure that they have a roadmap to roll out this program.
Thanks for your time.
And in this case that the Commission has recommended, they have a program for it.
Great to have you. Thanks for your time. Dan Kweku Botry is Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development. Now let's focus on the Volta region, because some groups in the south were opposing the creation of the OT region for those who are in the northern part of the Volta region. Well, we've spoken to some residents in the northern part of the Volta region, and here's what they have to say.
I think the creation of the OT region is good, because looking at those in the northern part of Volta region, we lack so many development, because looking at those at the southern part, you can see that those places are developed than we here. So I think when the region is being created, those here will move forward in terms of development. For me, I'm just waiting that even if they come that today we should go for the referendum. I'm ready to go because I think they are being delayed, so they should hurry up and then bring the referendum because we waited for this opportunity for a very long time.
When the district is created, the region is created, it will help us a lot, and we are going to get a lot of benefits out of it. At least our development in town, when it is created, our means to that place, I don't think it will be all that far. And with that, we can send our issues to the region, and then the dignitaries there will at least assist us to solve it, and I'm sure with this, it's going to help us a lot, and our town will be well developed because we are left behind, and we pray that the regions will be created for us to also, develop our place very nicely.
I'm happy if the region is created, it will do what? It will create jobs for the youth and everybody in the area to get better jobs to do, and everything will be okay for everyone in the community.
Very good in such a way that there are a lot of offices that we need in this town, especially the town of Pasa. If we are in need of those things, we have to travel from here to go just get those things. So when this region is created in this town, at least a lot of offices will come in our town, which will save us from that kind of transportation, and the town will develop. When there is OT region in Pasa, definitely our road will be constructed. Here lies the case. Look at Nkwanta to over that way. The journey is about some few hours, but from Pasa to Nkwanta, more than here to Tamale.